I fired the original contractor crew that was here because they took out the door frame and then they're like, oh, this doesn't have the support and the rebar that it should have. This wall right here that's still holding up the roof is gonna come down. I can't put an island on an uneven floor. And here's the thing, here's the reality. When this was all closed up, it was hard to tell that this was a step down. I mean, if you don't want the city to bust you up, you always need plans. So I got popped here by the city because this is the one that I told you guys that I had the MLS pictures. So we had it the way it was. I bought this back in the COVID era because once I saw that, I thought the flip market was gonna crash during COVID because of the market was like, oh, nobody's going out or whatever. And I thought to myself, they're not gonna bail us out like they did the bank. They ended up bailing us out and they ended up giving us a bunch of money. So then that kept the market growing. So the lady had it rented per room, but she had it like trash. So all I did was do a cosmetic makeover on it and kept it just the way it was. So she had kitchenettes in every room and I just made them look nicer and we kept it running. He was making between both houses like about 120. We got it up to like 240, running the Airbnb business right. So then I said, all right, I'm gonna flip it, put it on the market with the business attached to it. And when I put it on the MLS, the city saw the kitchenettes and the bathrooms and popped me for it.
Do you think that there's people actively searching the MLS?
It's not that I think, now I know. Put any pictures of like a bathroom that's not supposed to be there. So if it's a 3-2, I'm gonna just take a picture of the 3-2. If there's actually an extra room or bathroom, which actually in the other house there is, I'll show you guys, then I'm not gonna put it in the pictures. I'm gonna wait till they come see the house and see it for themselves as a bonus to the house. I did put in the details, like in-law quarters, to show that there is something extra, but I'm not putting like extra bedroom, extra bathroom. I'm not putting fully renovated. Like, I'm gonna let the pictures speak for themselves. If someone's interested in a house in this area, they're just gonna come see it most of the time. I may miss the person that's specifically looking for a 4-3 because I put 3-2 in-law quarters and they're not gonna read that in the details. They're just filtering 4-3. But I'd rather take that chance than put 4-3 and then the city say, wait a minute, this is supposed to be a 3-2. Here, now that I got popped, I'm legalizing everything, so it'll be a legal 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom. Let me walk you through the house and you'll see what it is. We're not doing the whole house. I'm literally just doing this area and this area. So this was completely closed off and now I'm gonna do an open floor plan. So eventually this wall right here that's still holding up the roof is gonna come down. We'll talk about this in a second because this right now is the biggest pain in the mind. Airbnb inspection are not the city permit people. So this was closed off. This where you guys are standing was one unit that we rented. And I'll show you the other 3 units in a second. This was one unit. This was the office/storage. I just basically stored a bunch of extra stuff in here. And then I had a wall that separated this room right here. And this was the laundry room. And this was the other door, and I had a coin laundry so that both houses guests could come in through this door, drop in coins, and use laundry as the laundry facility. Because I ran this like a little mini hotel. You guys will see how I did it in a second. It'll make more sense. So now I'm going to blow this wall out. I'm gonna raise this floor to level to where you're standing right there. This is gonna be the extended either living room, dining room area, and then I'm gonna put the kitchen here. So when you walk in the front door, it'll be an open floor plan.
This would be kind of like all part of the living room.
100%. So like, you know, it could either be a big living room or you could do dining room area here, kitchen over here. So what I'll have to do is I now have to throw mesh, call for inspection, which the mesh is the prep for pouring concrete. They'll make sure that it's got the proper wiring under there. They'll pass my inspection and then they'll be able to allow me to pour the concrete. Then I'll pour the concrete in here, call for another inspection, and then pass.
Why are you filling it in?
Because the kitchen is gonna go here with an island. I can't put an island on an uneven floor. And here's the thing, here's the reality. When this was all closed up, it was hard to tell that this was a step down. I didn't really realize that it had both, you know, situations there. I have no choice. I have to lift it up to put an island here.
Get rid of this wall.
I'm gonna get rid of this wall because once I got popped and I said, I gotta make this nice to sell, to flip. I was like, okay, I gotta make this a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom. I can't do it like closed off. Like it was, you know, like you come in, it's closed off. What am I gonna do? Make this like 5 bedrooms? I thought about making it an extra room and then putting the kitchen in the middle, but then you can't get into the other rooms. Watch, I'll show you guys. This trench is the plumbing that's coming to the kitchen. So here, as you guys can see, is the setup for the sink. And then here's the new, brand new plumbing and PVC. It's PVC, and then if you guys see that little like plastic hose, the cool thing about inspections, bro, pretty much in every city is you call, they're here the next day. That's not the problem. The delay is the architects. They take forever. And then submitting them to get approved, the revisions, they actually haven't been so bad in Fort Lauderdale. They've been like a week. So everything I submit to them in about a week, they'll review and they'll either approve or ask for changes. The problem is when they ask for changes, it has to go back to the architect, and then the architect takes another 2 weeks. So I'll walk you through the whole timeline of what I've been doing so far. I'll show you guys. So basically the very first thing I did was demo. I knocked all this stuff out. I took out the 2 doors. I threw the windows. I called for inspection. And I've got the windows approved so far. They came the next day. They looked at it. They looked at the whole blocks. They looked at this and they were like, oh, okay, we're cool with it. My guys, I fired the original contractor crew that was here because they took out the door frame and then they're like, oh, this doesn't have the support and the rebar that it should have. So now we gotta do it. I said, all right, do it. So what we're talking about here is just an extra 2 blocks, as you can see, because this is the old. This was here. So really we're doing here and then the rebar, same thing up here, same thing up here. They thought that it was already gonna have it on the door and they were just gonna have to put the bottom blocks and throw the window and be done with it. I'm like, all right, bro, do this. But when they hit me with the change order of what they tried to charge me for, I was like, all right, basically you guys are trying to charge me $2,000 per door? I was like, that's not gonna work. And well, I'll talk about that problem in a second. So let me walk you through the property. So what I have to do now is I have to do steel beams on both sides, sandwich this concrete beam that has the wood beam up there, and make sure that it holds the roof. And I gotta bring down both columns here and one right there where that opening is here with like, we gotta make like dice in the floor to like hold it. And then that will hold this and then I can knock the rest of this out. So that's the next step before even I pour concrete, because I gotta break the floor to do the dice feet. So think of it like a table that needs its chairs. So we're gonna do that, and that's where the whole fight started with the contractors. And then now we're going to switch. So the original laundry closet was going to be here. That was closed off when I had it before. And the other side of this was the kitchenette. Here was the original kitchen for this unit. So I would rent this unit. This was closed off. There was a kitchenette over there and the door to that unit was over there. So the person would walk in, check in Airbnb, walk in through there and have their own little private unit back there. This was also closed off because this was the kitchen. There's a back door over there we'll go see in a second. They would come in. This is another unit. So I had 3 units. I can't run the ducts and all the things that I needed to through there. So we're gonna do it here. It's easier to get through the rest of the house. And then we'll build the ducts to go back here, coming around, maybe cut a hole through here, and then it'll spread out here to put central AC, because I had mini splits. Because if you're renting per room, someone's controlling the central AC, what about the other 2 guests? So when you split rooms up, you gotta do mini splits. But now that I'm selling it, doing central AC. So that's running me to throw central AC here with permits and everything, about 14 grand. This will be an entrance to the master bedroom. This will be an entrance to this room, if you guys wanna come over here. This was the kitchenette area. This is the bathroom for this room in here. So technically, this house will have 2 rooms with 2 en-suite bathrooms, which will be hopefully a selling point. The only entrance to this room was from the back side. There was no connection through the house because the kitchenette was blocking it. So then here is the way people would come in. The cool thing is they let me leave this door. So technically, once I get everything approved, if I wanted to rent per room again, I could just close off that door and then have people come in just like they did there and not have a kitchenette and still be completely legal, because because I'm renting per room and I have permitted doors supposed to be here. So I can still run the same business I had before, but with no doors. So everything was connected. This was another unit, and then this is another unit right here. So it's two different houses, two folios. So now I separated the fence and I can sell this house separately as a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom with a detached studio and in-law suite with a patio. Currently right now I Airbnb the house and I Airbnb the studio. So I have it as 2 units on Airbnb. So here is where the sewer connect was. That was another thing. The original contractor guy was like making holes in different places trying to find that. I'm like, brother, run a camera. He's like, oh, my plumber, I don't know if he has it. I called my plumber, he was here, $200. He outlined it and then he spray painted right where the sewer line came in, and then they were able to cut right there instead of playing hide and go seek with where the plumbing line is. So like common sense stuff that sometimes you're like, for real? Like, I don't get it. So this will be a 3rd bedroom. We'll close that off and this will be its entrance. Originally, I had this, the bedroom to that unit as Airbnb, and all I did here was it had the original door, the bedroom door. I put plywood with insulation with a lock so you couldn't get in to the other unit. So this was one unit, this was the other unit with the bedroom here, and then the other unit that we were just in. Those are the 3 units in this house. The problem that I had here is the original contractor, I said, I'll pay for all material. Just give me the bid on the plans of what you want the work to be done. Move the plumbing, do all the electrical, blow out the walls that you guys see here blown out, do the structure load bearing situation here, replace the 2 doors with windows, framing and drywall, plastering and paint, and then throw tile. I'm trying to do a brand new house that's gonna look good and throw it on the market and sell it for over 700 grand. We're not on the same page here. Just tell me what the damage is. They came back and they're like, just like this, just how you see it without the plumbing and electrical done. I'll explain why. Just the demo, the trench, and the windows, they were like, all right, next steps, 45 grand. I'm like, how you hitting me with a change order of $20,000? Just labor, because the material I'll pay. I said, that doesn't make sense, bro. Just redoing the plumbing here. Oh, the support beams in the plans, this support was here, but the columns on the bottom weren't. And they're like, oh, we can't support it here. This is like Legos. This is just concrete block on top of each other. That's not gonna hold it. Like, I wouldn't do that. That's super dangerous. It's not gonna pass inspection. I said, okay, cool. How much is this? How much is that? How much is, abandoning the plumbing right there and redoing the plumbing? And this support that the windows needed, because that's the only changes that we're talking about, because I don't agree with you guys on this. And they're like 20 grand. I said, not a problem, that's not gonna work for me. So I brought my plumber guy, licensed and everything. He did plumbing for the whole house.
And they sell it on the MLS for sale, not
for sale, right. Well, in the details and everything, I said Airbnb business, the whole thing. So they knew I was running the business, but they don't care. They just wanted me to legalize it.
You weren't going to be able to work something out with the original contractor and lose that 5 grand somehow?
I gave the original contractors $12,500.
Had they completed at that point?
No, so trench, the demo, getting the trash out, and putting up those 2 windows. That's all they did. None of the framing, none of the drywall, none of the electrical, none of the plumbing. So think about it. If you quoted me 25 grand and I paid you half, and the only reason I paid them half, because usually I'll pay a third, is because I know you personally. Like, you're at my family barbecue type stuff, which I'll never do again. Learning lesson. I don't care if you're my brother. I'm following my system. I'm not changing my system for our personal relationship. Business is business. That was my mistake. I say a just price for that is like $8,500, max 9 grand. So I have 3 to 4 grand unaccounted for of labor, not material.
Is there a document that outlines the scope of work? So what happened that it wasn't clear enough for it?
It outlined the scope of work and it wasn't itemized. It just had the total, 25 grand. So now how much is what? But then he did it itemized before I pulled my plumber and everybody in here. And then he started changing numbers on me and I'm like, that doesn't make sense. My electrical guys came in here, ran all the electrical that you guys see here for the whole job, $4,400.
You're still working on the same general contractor.
The original guys from the engineer team.
They don't care who you're working with.
That's crazy to me, because God forbid if something happens, it's their signatures on the permits. But in Miami, they do that all the time. Like, you'll go to other places and they'll say, no way, we won't do that.
My concern is, let's say, I don't know, perhaps they told you, oh, the kitchens, they gotta come out, whatever. But then they see, oh, this bathroom has been remodeled. You have to also input permits for that. Or
right, it could, but that's so. For example, that's a good question. When all the mold and stuff was behind behind this wall. I had to knock it out. If you go ahead and look in that bathroom, go ahead and peep in that bathroom. You'll see, I have to finish that bathroom and make it look like it's never been touched. So we had to rip this wall out. So the shower wall, the rest of the wall we're leaving. Luckily, I found the same tile. He, today and tomorrow, has to finish that bathroom like it's never been touched. So when they come do the inspection for this and this, they don't say, oh, but wait a minute, you messed with the bathroom. So now you're gonna have to include the bathroom in the plans, because the bathroom is untouched. They didn't put that as a violation. It's a bathroom and part of the plans or whatever, and they're not busting my chops for it. You guys want to see what the plans look like? I don't know how to read plans that well, but now with ChatGPT, I just throw them in ChatGPT and I'm like, hey, break these down to me like I'm a kid. And it just breaks it down. The problem with the plans is the engineers will draw this and they won't pay attention to like, hey, you have a support here that won't let you do this. And then the revisions have to come and then they have to move it here. That's what these are one of the older version of the plans. So everything is like A1, A2, E2, E1, E2. So make sure you always have all the pages. She took a guess and put the main plumbing down the center, which is why he started opening up here down the center. To run the camera, it ended up being where you guys saw back here. So now the revisions is moving the main plumbing line down the back side of the wall instead of down the middle of the house right here. Mechanical floor plan, this is all the AC. So your AC guy, whoever's doing the AC, he'll give the engineer and the architect all the information. And then E1 is all the electrical. See, this is what I was saying, like you see the hi-hats where it went. How are you expecting the hi-hats to be there without drywall on the roof, like on the type of roof that was there? So what you didn't do as a contractor is really pay attention to the details of the scope of work on the plans. You should do your scope of work as how you're gonna charge me. Now you're gonna come try to run game and say, oh, well, this is a change order because now we gotta put drywall. Why? You had these plans from day one. So that's where I'm pushing back and arguing, like I'm not cool with it, you know what I mean? And then here's the proposed structural plan. So now the beam was always there, but it didn't have the post. So the revision is they put the post.
How much this cost?
This cost me $5,000, but we just paid on 2 more houses, $8,000. So it just depends who it is and how fast they can get it. I mean, if you don't want the city to bust you up, you always need plans. If you're gonna run the risk and do it without permits, that's on you. But like tile doesn't require permits. Paint doesn't require permits. Baseboards don't require permits. Once you're doing plumbing and electrical or anything structural or roof, it requires permits.
The one across the street from me, I think they bought the lot for right around 500, something like that. So that lines up with that.
Yeah, because you want it to be about 25% of what you could sell it for. So if I could sell it for $2 million between 2 townhouses, $1 million each, I don't want to pay more than about 25% for the land, $500,000. So I paid $490 for this. So I'm right in line with if I build up, I'll probably be between $500 for this. I paid for it, knocking it down. I'll probably spend $1 million building both, $500,000 each townhouse. It'll be like $500 profit, but I'll have to pay holding costs, right? The loan. So let's call that another $100,000, $150,000. So I'll make like $300,000 on new construction maybe.
What's your total budget for this one?
10 right now with framing, drywall, and putting the floor, 5 for the plumber, 44 for the electrician, so let's call it another 10, so that's 20. The structure beam, I'm gonna be somewhere in that $7,000 range, so that's 27. Building the floor, let's call it 30 between raising the floor and doing the structure, so $30,000 plus material. I'm trying to keep everything under at 50.
And so you're gonna ask 700.
Yeah, over.
So let's say you get, I don't know, you get 650 in your pocket, free and clear. You're gonna reinvest that somewhere closer to your other successful release.
I'll get another Airbnb or I'll find a lot to do a new build. That's one of the 2 things I'm looking at. Once I have it under contract, I'll have to time my closing because the minute I close, I have 45 days to identify where I'm gonna invest the money to avoid paying taxes.
Okay, and that's only because it's an investment property, right?
They changed that back to 100%, right?
That's a different thing. So that's for when you're depreciating. So when you call for depreciation, I could write off. So if you buy one property a year, depending on the amount of the size of the property and how much money you make, you can take the whole depreciation and claim it in 1 year. It was 80% when Biden took over, changed to 80. Trump put it back to 100%. So you fast forward the depreciation. What does depreciation mean? Like this isn't as nice as it was when it was first built. Every year it gets worse. So that loss of everything, you could put it on your taxes as an expense to offset the money you make. So potentially I could pay zero in taxes every year by picking up one property and doing the depreciation. 100% cost segregation.
1031 exchange, that's always 100%.
1031 exchange is all I'm doing is I owe you taxes on this. Once I sell this, I owe you Uncle Sam. But until I don't put the cash in my pocket, I'm not gonna pay you. I'm gonna roll that debt into the next property. So I could get to a point, keep doing it, to where that I owe them $500,000 in taxes. If you plan your estate right with the right estate tax planner, once he inherits it, they can wipe out the taxes.
I was wondering about that, if you die with it or if it...
There's a certain way to structure it to where he won't be responsible for it. So then that's what generational wealth is. We never end up paying
So you buy...
I know it's cash value life is whole thing.
each house for 500 grand at the same time. The lady had it like that.
It was already split?
Yeah, but she had it like hostel style. It looked like a flea market in here, like little random things she found here and there, put it together. I came in and gave it like this universal feel without breaking the bank. I wanted to make sure we could optimize the Airbnb. And then I'm like, let's flip it, because I didn't want to do a major renovation. But the other house I didn't. The other house stayed the way I did it for Airbnb, and I'll just flip it with the business, or if someone wants to live in it, I give the option. Like, I'm charging $690, I could give you the business, or if you're not interested, just take the house.
And you said the inspection for the Airbnb
It's separate.
They're looking at the bathroom, kitchen.
Nah, they came in, they saw the main kitchen, they saw the kitchenettes, and they were cool.
We're just looking for like fire alarms, fire extinguisher, anything in the house, a telephone, no internet.
Each one, even plumber. The plumber will come in here, plumbing inspection, and he won't be paying attention to the electrical. Can they be a jerk and go back to the office and talk to the electrical and be like, bro, I went to that place or whatever? Sure, but bro, that's an individual that maybe exists out there who's miserable, but most of them are not. Any other questions you guys got for me? Hit me.
I think it was a duplex, and he put it on the market for a 4-unit. He split it into a 4-unit, and they're doing the same thing. They busted him out, and
Oh yeah.
you have to redo rid of that.
How did he get caught?
I think it was from the MLS. I'm not, like, similar to what you're saying. I'm not sure the whole story, but...
Yeah, not every place is, but it's gonna start more. And now with AI, tell me why they won't write AI agents that can just crawl the internet and be like, flag, flag, flag for keywords, you know, and this is what it looks like.
And it's not a good idea to be turning houses into like...
I don't think AI can't see pictures and tell if it's remodeled or not. Just be mindful of what you put in the details.
Are you sure it can't? Because I send it pictures and it tells me very detailed things, and it makes inferences on the pictures that I'm sending you.
If you can, but right now, like if you send it a website, it won't crawl that website and tell you a bunch of stuff. You'll have to download the picture and upload it. I'm not saying it can't get there in the next year or two, but it also needs to have a point of reference of what it looked like before, right?
Yeah, I was thinking that it might be able to look for before pictures on sites that it knows.
I think what they're really looking for is like people putting new build or renovated and completely remodeled, or bedrooms and bathrooms that are not, you know, they have it as a 3.2 and you're listing it as a 5.3. That's a red flag, you know what I mean? Even if you do, it's a challenge, because what if it is a 5.3, but originally it was a 3.2? I've sold houses and I've put 5.3 and it's not a 5.3 in public records, and I've sold it. And so I'll have that dilemma if I keep flipping properties that don't match. We just right now wholesale the property, flip the contract instead of doing it ourselves, and it's a 6-figure flip, but on public records it's a 2.1 and it's actually a 3.2. If I didn't have this plus the other things I had going on, I would still do it. I would run the risk and roll the dice because it's a 6-figure flip. And it's in an area in Miami where everybody loves, they move fast, but I wholesaled it and made 40 grand. You flip the contract, I didn't have to buy it, I didn't have to swing a hammer, I'm not here sweating and getting dirty, and I make 40 on it. I could have made 120, but it's a 2.1 on public records, and the layout currently right now is a 3.2, and to sell it for the amount of money that I know it could sell for, it's gotta stay as a 3.2.
What specific challenges would you have to overcome in that situation where you have to get the 2.1 to match the 3.2? Like,
You gotta get permits, you gotta get plans, you gotta have them come and legalize it.
the implication is that work was done without any permit.
1000%, because they would have updated it. Or you list it as a 3.2, hopefully nobody asks any questions, no city sees it, and you're good to go. But look at her, she was selling hers, it was a 3.2, and she remodeled it, and was 2 weeks away from closing with the buyer, and from the MLS pictures, a remodel, no bedroom change, no bathroom change, but they saw that everything was new, and in the details she put brand new, fully remodeled, they popped her. and she had to go do all the plans and permits, and they delayed the closing 6 weeks. And convinced the buyer, that's where like a lot of what we do and talk about works, because I told her, I'm like, convince the buyer that you're gonna leave $40,000 at the title company in escrow, have them close so we could stop paying on the private money and stop the bleeding, because that's gonna eat up your profit for another 2 months. That's like another 10 grand that you're gonna pay. So have her close, pay off the private money, leave $40,000 of your profit at the title company with, I will close out the permits in 90 days. If I don't, Mr. Buyer, you can keep this $40,000. Make it sexy enough for them to say, all right, I'm either gonna have plans and permits and everything legal, or I'm gonna come up on 40 grand and I'll deal with the problem myself. And they said yes, and they closed. And then, but she got it closed within like 60 days. There's always a solution, bro, but it's just gonna cost you time and money. You know what I mean? Which is why I'm only gonna do a cosmetic flip. If it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, and it's a cosmetic flip and it appears on public record the right way, I'll do something that's less money. Oh, I'll make 40 on it. The numbers make sense. There's nothing weird here. I'll paint, throw tile, maybe change a vanity or two, some lights. I'll do that all day. But if I gotta do something that there could be a potential risk factor, I better be making enough money that if I get into a pinch, it still works. So like I'm dropping 50 here, I'm losing Airbnb money, but I'm gonna try to sell this for like 730, 740. Yes, I made less money. I'm gonna be out, you know, 60K, 70K, but I'm still gonna make 6 figures on it. So no big deal.
You think that wholesale model is like good for this like market climate kind of?
You know what wholesale is? So wholesale means I just flip the contract, I never bought it. Hotel means I buy it, just like a hotel, I'm not staying for long. So I'm not doing any of this. I'm literally just cleaning it up and putting it back on the market. It may require throwing some floor and some paint, which never requires permits, and I'm throwing it back on the market. But I'm not changing bathrooms, I'm not changing kitchens, I'm not knocking down walls. You might alter a wall, maybe patch up some holes, maybe change a vanity and some toilets, but I'm not like redoing a whole bathroom or redoing a whole kitchen. I'm basically trying to spend under 10 grand and throw it back on the market. That's called a hotel. You guys got any other questions?
You do any commercial?
I could do commercial, yeah. I've funded a bunch of commercial, but I've done my personal office as a commercial. When I sold it, I renovated it. I was in there for a while, then I sold it during COVID. And then my dad's best friend has a daycare. We funded that, renovated it, refied, cashed out, started a business behind that. But I'll flip commercial all day long too. It's just the numbers. And if there's value add, all day long. I got a guy who's stuck on a warehouse. He's in our mastermind and he's been stuck on it for 5 years. It was his first ever property he bought and he can't sell it. He rents it out for events and tons of things like that and pays the difference out of pocket. So yeah, hopefully this will be done in the next 3-4 weeks. And if you guys want to come back and see the final product, once we have an open house and listing it, you guys can see how it turned out. The only part here left to figure out is the structure. Once I figure this out this week, I'm off and running and call for inspections.
How much you want for the back room?
That one, I'm gonna start listing it at $690. 3-2 in the front and a studio in the back.
How do you, what's going on back there then?
The other house,
Yeah, is it a separate address?
a separate address, separate house.
I missed that, sorry.
That's why I put the fence now. Before it was like open and I was pitching it like, buy the business. Both houses, it looks like a boutique hotel, 6 units, whatever. Now I'm like, I'm gonna sell this house, sell that house. If you want both houses and keep running it, I'll show you how to do it. It's all legal, permitted. Because look, technically, that door right there, I could do the same thing. Put a plywood, insulation. It still has the back door. I can rent that room separate. And the same thing over here. I could put plywood, insulation. It's got the back door entrance there. Even if it's not for Airbnb and you want to throw your in-laws back there or whatever, like you just close that off in the middle. And when you're doing things inside, it's easy. It's when you're changing the outside, like doors and all that and structure, that they can tell. But like once the city's out of here and I'm completely approved, if I'm not selling it and putting on the MLS, if I close that off with drywall, how are they gonna know? Unless they walk in my house.
And it's a bedroom with a bathroom.
It's a bedroom with a bathroom and the door outside, permitted.
You're not gonna put another kitchenette again.
No, because I'm gonna put it back on for sale. I'll rent this first, Airbnb as a 4-3, and see how it does. Just so that I can show it easily and things like that. If it's not selling fast, like if in 90 days it doesn't sell, and the Airbnb money is not the same as I was, I'll put a plywood, which is easy to take off, insulation, and I'll do it back to 3 units like I had before. But studios in the back with no kitchen.
But if you have it rented as an Airbnb, the guests will let you show the house, or you have to?
I'll have to show the house when they're not here, block off dates.
At this point in your career, how are you funding these?
Other people's money.
Just private money?
I don't put any of my own money.
Yeah.
Okay, but to me, there's a difference between private and hard, right?
We use both. So if you come to me and you're like, bro, I got 100 grand, I got nothing to do. I said, I can give you this much on the 100 grand for this project. This is what I'm doing. And if I need another 300 grand, I'll get it from her or him, or I'll go to a lender and get it.
Oh, it's a combination.
No, doesn't matter. I mean, if I got all the money I need right here, then we're grouping it and we're putting it into this project. Once you start asking people, hey, do you want to participate in this deal? You'd be surprised how many people are like, give me the numbers.
If I had a chance, I would.
And people think like, oh, I don't want to be asking people for money. You're bringing them an opportunity and they've had that money sitting there for 2 years. They've made zero on it. So when you're like, you can make 18 grand, they're like, that pays my car, my this, my that. You can, on this one, you can make 32 grand. And then they're like, cool, I'm in, or I'm not. But personal brand helps too, posting it. Like, this is why I record everywhere I go. Then we post it, and people see it. It's like, oh, I've been seeing your videos when you were going through that project or whatnot, and then it just opens up the conversation. Personal brand, like, I had like 2 million, and as soon as we started posting videos, like now we're at 3.5 million, like constantly in rotation of other people's money, of just the social media. And I'm not even good at it, bro. I don't make time for it. All I do is I film, I give it to an editor, he does something, and we just get it up. Now what I'm gonna start doing is pick a date on every single month where I'm gonna spend all day with purpose. Like, I'm gonna have it planned out with, I'm gonna say this, hooks, this, that, and actually do it with intention. Because if it raised 1.5 million and it's attracted JV partners and all that, what if I did it right? You know what I mean? Like, what if I took it serious? So now we're gonna be making shooting days and I'm gonna spend all day, you know, doing this.
It works. It really does work.
Yeah, because people like to learn and they like to know what's going on and they like to see people. Like, I'm not a coach guru that did it 10 years ago and now I'm teaching what worked 10 years ago. Bro, what worked 10 years ago in today's market ain't working, bro. So like all those old school people that are like, oh, I made my millions, you know, back in 2008, homie, it's a whole nother world right now. In 2008 till now, the market recovered. Anything you bought had equity. Now that it's like this, now you gotta know what you're doing. Now you gotta know how to pick up the deal, run the right numbers, negotiate it for cheaper, and price it right for it to sell. Because now not everything you buy in 6 months is gonna be worth another 50 grand like it has been for the last 10 years.
When you trying to raise money, right? How do you sell it to other people? Is it like an interest rate? You give them some equity?
Hey, you could do anything. There's no rules, but most of my offers are you get paid when the project is done and you get 12% for as long as the project took. So that's 1% a month, right? Annualized. So if you give me 200 grand, that's $2,000 a month. But instead of me having to pay you per month so that I don't have to spend time and energy cutting out $20,000 worth of checks every month, if you want to get paid per month, and I'm considering that money, I'm not gonna pay you 12%. I'm gonna pay you 9, 8, 10. But if you want 12%, then you get paid at the end when we all cash out. And then that's it. Then I don't have to be worrying about paying 70, different people. And then when the project closes and finishes, this took 13 months. You get a statement every month. So my accountant sends you a statement every month, you a statement every month. So you see your money and your profit is just not going into your account until it sells. So you see how much I owe you basically. So it's like, you put 200 grand here every month, 202, 204, 206, 208, 210, 212, 214, 216. By the time I sell, 225. Whatever it is. So I give you back your 200 and your $24,000.
That's how you do it with your investor?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They fund 100% or?
I always try to get 100%. If not, she gives me 50, you give me 80, you give me 100, and we do it legal. Because when you're taking other people's money, we'll create a corporation together and we'll do all the proper paperwork behind it. But if I like one person to fund the whole job, it makes it so much easier. So we'll get deeper into that on the trainings on Zoom, but that's not as hard as people think. Especially once you get going and then you make money for this person, then he tells his uncle, then he tells his boss, then he tells this, and then they're like, hey, we want in on the next deal. Next thing you know, you have a couple people calling you.